Good morning, everyone. Today is Thursday, May 28th. Welcome to the Canopy Cafe. This morning, we are going to be live with the founder and CEO of Nanny Goat Books and Nanny Goat Press, Sarah Gardiner. I'm super excited to welcome her onto our show because not only is she an amazing female founder, but she is also a dear friend of mine. So I'm excited to share her with you all. Welcome, Sarah Gardiner. How are ya?
How's it going?
Man, it's beautiful. I'm sitting outside. The sun is shining. How are you this morning?
It's great. It looks beautiful out there. I'm staring at it through my window right now, and it looks just gorgeous.
Yes, it's a great day for a great day. So I would love to hear a little bit about you. And I mean, I know it, but I think our listeners would love to hear a little bit about you as Sarah Gardiner, but then also you as a founder and CEO of Nanny Goat Books and Nanny Goat Press.
Yeah, so I am originally from Louisville, lived in DC for a handful of years, moved back here in 2016, and founded Nanny Goat Books in 2018, which is where we are currently sitting. Nanny Goat Books. So we're in Nulu. We are kind of catty corner from Garage Bar, if you are familiar with that area. And we're just a small indie bookstore with a real focus on promoting local authors, marginalized voices. And so last year, as you know, Amanda, I was part of Wild Accelerator, which is a female founder accelerator, which helped promote the book press, which is sort of our side arm of the bookstore. And it's just really a publishing house geared at, focused on promoting giving a voice to traditionally voiceless authors. So it's writers of color, queer writers, and socioeconomically challenged authors.
That's amazing. I think that words are timeless, and it's a beautiful way to be able to look at parts of our history and culture, and not just here in the US, but all over the world, to understand a little window into someone's mind, someone's experiences, the way that they view the world, whether it's fiction or nonfiction. It really helps us be able to see and explore something that we would otherwise not be able to. So talk a little bit about why specifically Nanny Goat Books and Nanny Goat Press is focusing on those specific voices and what it means to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think that at the end of the day, all we have are stories. I mean, that's how we connect with people. That is how we engage with our own humanity and the community of others, especially in times like these. I think it's really, really, really important to continue to understand that we're all just humans with a unique story to tell. And the stories that we've heard for a long time have been sort of the traditionally majority stories. And I think it's time that we all get better when we hear diverse dialogue, diverse storytelling, and we get to understand parts of ourselves that we didn't even know.
Yeah, that's amazing. Talk a little bit about how you came to be in this position as founder and CEO, because you've had a really interesting life at such an early age. And I think that part of that story really plays into what you just talked about.
Yeah, so I was in DC. I was doing work sort of in the political spectrum, but always sort of political writing was always sort of the centered point of it. Moved back at 23, had the opportunity to purchase a large amount of books, and by large I mean like 30,000 books. And what do you do with 30,000 books except start a bookstore? I mean, unless you just want to, build a house out of books, which would be great too, I guess. But yeah, had an opportunity, and 3 days later had keys in my hand to a store out in LaGrange, actually. So we ended up, that was sort of a store that was transitioning out. We folded that into Nanny Goat. And yeah, I mean, within a few months, I started looking at retail spaces, found this place. This was literally the first place we we looked and fell in love. It's an old church. It's got good vibes. It's got good energy. And then I'd been working in publishing for a while, so starting a publishing house was just the next step, I guess. It just seemed like the natural next step.
So I love what you said, because you had your own experiences in DC and really dabbled in kind of that corporate life and lobbying and what that could be, and something deeper was calling to you. And what you've created now with Nanny Goat Books really speaks to the heart of Canopy and good business, right? Like, you've intuitively moved your business and created a business that's doing good for specifically a group of people that have been left behind. So tell me a little bit about how you either intuitively or actively made some of those choices to set your business up with a good business model.
Well, I think at the end of the day, I mean, it's just gut, right? I mean, like, you just know, it's right. We all know it's right and what's good. And, I've just tried really hard to follow my gut always. I mean, again, I think when you have an opportunity to start a business, a lot of people would have gone into it with more forethought than 3 days, but my gut just told me to do it. And that's always been, how I lead every direction that I try and make is you just know. And I think surrounding yourself with people who also know and who encourage the goodness is really, really, really important. I mean, I only try and surround myself with people like you, Miss Amanda, who are people who really encourage the kindness and the goodness and forethought in your friends and yourself. And I think that is a great, navigational tool to help you get to. I mean, good business is easy because you just do what's good, and I think we all know it's good.
I love that. We've been asking everybody on our show, like, how would you define good business? And you basically said it's an intuitiveness to do what's right and to do what's good. Except, sometimes I think we forget that people don't have that intuition. Like, we are, you and I can't speak for anybody else, but you and I have had the pleasure and the benefit of learning that from books and from teachers and from mentors. And so, like, it's such second nature to us now. And there's still work to be done on helping other people get that intuition. So tell me, we've talked a little bit about how you got here and what you're doing now. But I'd be really curious to start talking a little bit about how COVID has changed the way that books operate, publishers operate, how books are being sold, how they're being handled. So if you want to talk a little bit more broadly about that, then we can go into more detail specifically.
Yeah. So, I mean, for brick and mortar retail, it's been a really interesting time trying to figure out what this actually looks like. And so I have sort of the interesting experience of both the brick and mortar retail here and then the publishing house, which is almost entirely virtual. And those have been two really different business strategies going forward, sort of adapting. But no, I mean, I think people are craving entertainment in general, and that really is, for a lot of people, you get burnt out, you watch everything on Netflix, and then you want to read a book finally. So we've had a lot of people who have really come out. So we were doing appointment-based shopping for a while, and following our guidelines and everything. But I mean, the people who would come out were people who were actually readers, and they really wanted to engage in literature. I think it's really, I think we're seeing an uptick in people realizing that reading is actually a thing that they didn't have time for, and they have time again, and they really enjoy, which is really important, because it's how, that really is how we engage with each other. I think people are looking for engagement right now. They're looking for connection, and that is largely, through art and through media and through storytelling.
So I think that's wonderful. And you know this about me, not everybody does, but I actually have my degree. I have a BFA in photography. So I am an artist at heart. And so I'm really excited to talk about this next part with you.
Yeah.
Art in quarantine.
Art in quarantine.
And specifically, I've been thinking a lot about how art not only can be derived in like challenging times, that it takes a little bit of fire, being uncomfortable to create really good art, but also I've noticed about myself, and I think other people would probably maybe agree with this, that we've busied ourselves so much and we filled our schedules and our lives with so much stuff that there hasn't been enough like piddling time and like time for nothing, because but with that fire mixed with nothing, it gives you the opportunity to be more creative. And so I am wondering what your thoughts on art in quarantine, and if you've seen a rise in people starting to piddle and create and innovate.
Well, I think that there are two different camps right now. So there are the people who are really becoming so uncomfortable and so fired up that they're creating amazing things. And there are people who this time has actually like has completely squashed, So I just want to be very clear, because there's a big art community debate right now that if you are not creating right now, it is okay. You're allowed to just take a rest. And I just want to be very clear on that. I mean, there is no shame if you're not creating. But I do think that, for me, it was the first few weeks, I was just lost in resting and taking a break and, falling and engaging with, I was watching a lot. I was reading and watching a lot of TV and engaging in things that I didn't have time to engage in previously. And that was really inspiring, which then led into me creating. So I wrote 10 pages yesterday.
What?
The script. I'm feeling pretty good about that. I'm feeling pretty good. I didn't text. I almost texted you last night, like let's celebrate. But I felt so inspired, and I think a lot of that inspiration came from the amount of time I had to just take a break and rest and see other art that I hadn't had the time to see, and to read and engage and hear other voices, and in that find my own again, and I think that's really important.
I love what you said about giving people the like space and freedom to know that if they're not creating, that it's okay. I just recently read Glennon Doyle's book Untamed, and I started following her on Instagram. And she wrote a long post about how she's not been writing right now. Like, she's taking this time as a moment to just breathe and rest. And I think that's the trick, right? Is to like know what you need and to make yourself good. And so whether that is to rest and sleep and take a walk and cook and bake, or whatever your version of that is, or like you are saying, I've done some resting and now I'm ready to be creative again. I feel the fire and I want to create. It's just like learning to really turn into that knowing, because most of the time when we get really honest about that knowing, we won't go wrong.
Well, I think there's also art and self-care. I mean, like, you can't be artists if we aren't engaging in self-care in any way, or if we aren't, there's a huge idea in the art community too of the tortured artist, which is really that's a dangerous concept that a lot of people struggle with, and it can fuel negative mental health, mental illness, because it causes you to believe that you have to be sad to create good things. And I think that we're really taking a turn in the art world and saying that that's not true. Also, like, I'm demanding my own mental health space. Like, I am taking up the space again to say I don't have to be sad to create good things. And I think, that's a really important part of art as well. Is creation only happens when you're in a place to create.
I think that's so true. Right now, I just picked up Educated, and I'm about halfway through. And reading her story, it's very clear to me that she had to be in a place where she was grounded in herself and had done some of her own like spiritual journey to be able to write about the trauma and the intense things of her childhood. And again, it goes back to what you need, right? So like understanding that and listening to your knowing and recognizing that you need time to be centered and okay, and to support your self-care to be able to do the art, and also sometimes understanding that maybe the fire, whether that is grounded in positive or negative, will allow you to release and make some creativity. So I wonder, Sarah, I know that you're working with some writers right now. You yourself are a writer and have published manuscripts and short stories. Will you talk a little bit about that process, and especially geared towards maybe someone that's listening who has the desire to start writing or has already written some things and that's interested in sharing them? Like how do you take those first steps into trying to take something on paper and turn it into something that the world can read?
Well, I would say number one, each process is very different and individual. So if you have specific questions, like please reach out to us, we will guide you through that. But sort of the overall process is, you write a manuscript, you put words on page, you do the best you can, and then you contact someone, whether that's an editor, a publisher, which is sort of where we come in. We offer editing services within our publishing house. So we're sort of an all-in-one publishing stop. But you reach out to someone else, they look at it, they make their edits, they send it back to you, and that process goes on a few times until it's really fine-tuned and both people are comfortable with where it has landed. And then we turn it into a book, which sort of looks like that's a long, complicated process, but basically, we work with printers and we get it made into a book, and that's sort of the magic behind, that's our magic sauce that we offer, is doing that process. But I mean, the first step is really just contacting an industry professional. I mean, there's always self-publishing. That's become a really big option in the publishing world, but self-publishing is difficult because you need to know how to do all those back-end things that people in the industry have been doing for years to do 10 times faster, 10 times easier, and work on the team with you to make those things happen. Sorry, go ahead.
So it sounds like not only do you have a bookstore where you have the finished product, but you also go through the entire publishing process with an author from beginning to end. Is that right?
Yes. So that's sort of like what I feel like we bring to the table, specifically at the press, at Nanny Goat Press, is that, we've been working in the bookstore for 3 years. I've also been working in publishing for 7. So I have seen a very unique side of both, the actual bookseller aspect versus the back end of making the book, and can therefore, I think that's really guided how I create and sell books as a publisher, and then how I understand the publisher side from the bookstore. They really go hand in hand, and most presses don't have any experience with what it looks like to be a retail bookseller, which I think gives us a real advantage in how we market and how we sell and how we engage with booksellers in general.
So if somebody listening or is interested in taking the next step to try to get something published or working with Nanny Goat Press to kind of move forward, where should they contact you? How should they find you? Call me, beat me if you want to reach me.
Reach me, yep. Love a good Kim Possible reference, always. So our website is nannygoat.press, and we can be reached at our email at nannygoatbooks.com or nannygoatbooks@gmail.com. We're on Instagram, Facebook, all at Nanny Goat Books. We accept any form of, there's a contact page on our website. That's an easy way to reach us. But DMs from Instagram, Facebook, we accept all those.
Awesome. Well, Sarah, I want to thank you so much for coming on the Canopy Cafe this morning and spending your Thursday morning with us, talking about the amazing work that you do and the importance of books, especially now, given this crazy time that we're living in. Thank you for being a friend to Canopy and believing in the philosophy of good business here in Kentucky and standing up for the voiceless. We look forward to seeing you again soon, and we will talk to you later. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. See y'all later.
All right, listeners. Thank you for joining and listening to our wonderful friend, Sarah Gardiner, the CEO and founder of Nanny Goat Books and Nanny Goat Press. I want to take a second to remind you about the Charter for Good Business. You can go onto our website and sign that document that basically says that you support good business here in Kentucky, so much so that you're willing to put a name on a piece of paper to help make that possible. Also, of course, Canopy is a nonprofit, so we are always looking for donations. Given these COVID-19 times, every dollar helps. We really appreciate that. In addition to this thing that you're listening to, the Canopy Cafe, we have an amazing podcast called Mind Your Wake. We invite you to subscribe to that on any of your podcast channels, so Spotify, Apple, and wherever else you get your podcasts. Thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you again tomorrow, Friday, May 29th. Thanks so much. Have a great day.